Hi, Steve.
Hi, Jim.
Well, here we are, our first post Record Store Day 2020-25 episode, and I'm trying to figure out which is hurting more today, my back or your wallet.
Uh, that wallet's not doing good at
Oh,
all.
no. And welcome once again to Two Guys Talking About Records, a vinyl community podcast heard on your favorite podcast platform weekly, where each week we two guys get together and we talk records. My name's Jim, and I own a record store, and what a fun week it's been to be that person.
And I'm Steve, and I am a record collector that had no one watching over me yesterday. And so all hell broke loose.
You were unsupervised. I thought you were supposed to be in check.
Yeah. That one sure didn't work out. If my wife would have been with me, I probably would have came out with just 2 record albums or something.
There we go. Well, adult supervision required. You need a T-shirt that says that next time we go through. But overall,
I was gonna say I am a senior, so I probably should have that now.
that's true. That's true. You're like a life alert bracelet for record stores or
Yeah.
something. If purchasing over $300, please contact. But all in all, you had a good day.
Yeah, it was a real good day. I was able to get every album that I wanted, and I really didn't think I would.
Oh,
So
very
yeah,
cool.
very
But
good.
some of them were up there a little bit, I heard.
Yeah. Some were kind of stupid.
Oh, no. Well, on the record store day side of things went very well for us here at Radio Wasteland. I mean, it's always a fun day regardless. It's a lot of work, but just to see so many people coming in and finding the stuff they wanted and enjoying themselves in a record store, for me, that's what a lot of this is about. It's a lot of fun to do and a lot to put together, albeit a little tired. I'm not a spring chicken anymore, so you get a 13-hour day in me, and I'm going to be I think Monday and Tuesday I'll be sleeping regardless. How's that?
Yeah. Well, it's good. You got Monday and Tuesday off. That's
I
good.
do, I do. But that's the joy of the small store. The store's going to be closed though, but that's how that works. So normally at this time, folks, we do our recent acquisitions, but I think we're going to get to those in a little bit because the recent acquisitions are, for Steve's part at least, directly related to Record Store
Yeah.
Day. So what say we do a quick wrap up of the day, Steve? Talk about how things went.
Yeah.
As I mentioned here at the store, it's a fun one. We talked a little bit last week about the process and behind the scenes and how I end up getting here early. But I do have a couple pictures. Let me call these up real quick, and
Mhm.
we'll talk about some of the fun. Now, the lines. How were the lines for you in Colorado? Were they interesting? Were folks into it?
Well, I avoided them like the plague and went out later. But one store I went to, the manager said it took them 2 hours to get the line through the door.
Wow.
And they had that many, and they thought they had more last year. But when you get that many, how do you know? So it opened at 6 a.m., and they've never done that. But one store did, and then a couple others followed suit with that. So everyone's trying to get the jump, which is kind of what happened in retail with Black Friday. Everyone began getting the jump and push it further and further. But
And
there
I
aren't the
find
rules and regulations.
there are, and typically saying you're not allowed to begin, the record stores aren't allowed to begin selling until 8 a.m. But I think that's 8 a.m. Eastern. I think if you think about one time zone to rule them all, it would have to be Eastern time because 8 a.m. Eastern, our time is 6 a.m. Mountain, correct? So maybe they're just
Correct.
saying, well, if they can start selling at 8 a.m. Eastern, we can start selling at 8 a.m. Eastern also. I don't know if that's how hard and fast if the rules follow the time zones. That just means Pacific starts selling at 7 then, doesn't it?
5.
Oh, 5. Okay, even worse.
Yeah.
But, 5 a.m., regardless, that's when my day started, Steve. And it didn't go
Yeah.
through. Per what we do here at the store, it's a small crew. And I can't speak for how things work at bigger record stores, stores that have employees and thousands of feet of retail space to go with. But here at ours, the day starts I get here at 5 a.m. to pass out those numbers. I do have a couple of pictures to share. The line here at the store, we broke a record this year. I think in 24 we had somebody get in line at 3 or 4 in the afternoon on Friday, the day before. This year, I was actually contacted by someone on Thursday. They sent a message saying, would it be okay if we put up a tent today, Thursday? The intent being, no pun intended, tent-wise, but they wanted to be there Thursday night, Friday night, to be there for Saturday morning. And I said, that's cool. I appreciate the enthusiasm, but it's a little unnecessary. The line seriously is not going to start, gaining steam until the afternoon on Friday. Plus, I share a building with other businesses who may or may not like a tent, camped out in front of the building just in case. And plus, it looks weird.
Yeah.
It's like, what's going on there?
It's like a homeless camp. Hey, we got homeless in Midland now. They're by the record store.
Yeah. The end result was they said, okay, we won't put up the tent until Friday night when the store is closed, and folks, and that's cool because it got down to about 28 degrees overnight here between Friday and Saturday. It was cold, clear, not much wind, so that was a little more bearable, but they did put that tent up Friday night. But the take on that was they said, okay, we won't put up the tent, but the person that wanted the record is going to get in line on Friday morning. And so literally at about 10 a.m. Friday, 10, 11 a.m. Friday, we had a person in line. And here's what the line looked like. She was first in line. This shot that I'm bringing up here is from about 4 o'clock, 3 or 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon when we had 4 or 5 people in line by that time waiting for Saturday morning. And by the time I left the store after doing our live stream at 7 p.m., there was, I think, 5, maybe 6 or 7 people in line at that time. And then it starts filling up in the overnight hours. So here's what it looked like, though. But speaking of the overnight hours filling up, this next shot, a little tough to see in the dark, but this is when I got to the store at 5 a.m. to pass out numbers. Nice clear night outside there. We had, I think, probably 35, 30, maybe I think it was 38 people in line. And it's tough to see, but that line stretches all the way down the front of our store and around the corner into the backside on the side of the building. And this was by far the biggest 5 a.m. line that we've ever had, the most numbers I've passed out at 5 a.m. And then finally, I get here, I pass those numbers out. I say, go warm up, get yourself some coffee, relieve yourself legitimately somewhere. I don't want to know the other stories about the overnight. And then come back at 8. And here is what our line looked like at 8 a.m. after all the numbers. It's really tough to see. I didn't want to go back out in the street because these people were cold and wanted to get in. But we had, I think, about 58 people online. Not our biggest line, by the way, at 8 a.m., but still a healthy little crowd of folks very happy to get in. And, we got them in and pushed them through. You mentioned the other store that you talked about that took them a couple of hours. It took us 1 hour to get through our line here today. But most everybody was there. It was cool. They all had fun. I think most everybody got what they wanted to. It's a really neat crowd. And you remember what that's like. The folks here and camping and lining up for Record Store Day they're a fun bunch.
They are. They all there. They have one thing in common. They want Taylor Swift.
Not this year. I mean, they did, yes, but Taylor Swift was not the big get. We'll talk about that here in a second or so. So
yeah, it was great. It was Jefferson Starship. We know
it was Jefferson Starship. That's why I still have a picture disc sitting over there. Thank you very much. I'm going to send that to you for VCLT. You need that, right?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Instead of Vinyl Community Love Train, it should be VCLT, Vinyl Community Love to Torture. I know, I'm kidding. Yes. We're not making fun of Starship anymore. We're backing off of that. No, but all in all, it was a good day here, Steve. I think, I judge, again, from a smaller store standpoint. We don't have thousands of records of Record Store Day stuff in stock. And I think we started the day with well over 400 pieces, which again, for us is good, engaging by it. Now, I think I've got about 45 things left, 45, not different title, but 45 records. I've got 2 or 3 copies of a few things here and there, but 45 pieces left as of our Sunday morning, the day after. And,
Mhm.
like we talked about last week, this is the day to really begin looking. If you missed something, look for legitimate record stores online to buy from because they won't be gouging you.
Yeah. Yeah, and, even you're right, online, and I have seen when I went to Discogs, some of the prices on a couple of these.
Yeah, I do have Discogs called up. I want to look at those here in a little bit. But speaking of the pricing, one of the things that I kind of noted, you and I text back and forth a lot during the week about records. Believe it or not, even when we're not officially talking about records, we're talking about records on
Records.
on the text chain. But you were letting me know what you were picking up here and there on your record store day traverse. And you mentioned you got everything you were looking for, but you paid a little bit more. And that was shocking to me that some of the price differences between what we had and what you were paying at your stores.
Yeah, it was, especially that Dada, which we
Yeah.
knew was in short supply, and that this store charged so much more, over $10 more than you were charging, and I
Yeah.
always thought they were supposed to be a similar price.
Well, the manufactured resale or retail price, the MSRP, is that we're given. Usually, what we do is we try to stick fairly close to that. I think they always come in at that 29.99 mark or whatever, and I've never been a
Yeah.
fan. I don't do that at our store. If it's 29.98, I round it up to 30, and so on and so forth. I know that it's like 100 years of retail expertise goes into those prices, right? And psychologically, it's supposed to make people think they're getting a better deal, but I just don't buy into that. I'd say, if it's 29.99, it's 30. Let's just deal with it. I don't like change, and I don't do math very well, so that's my reasoning on that. But there are two major distributors in the country that handle all of the record store day product out to stores, both big and small. Everything comes from the labels, and they funnel through these two entities to go out to the stores. And I have accounts with both. I buy product from both of these distributors. And so when we buy, I kind of hedge my bets, saying I'm going to get a couple here, to try to make sure we get what we want on there. But this year, I noticed that there were differences in the MSRP from some of the titles, or on some of these titles, and it was weird. There typically is maybe a buck or two, but there was up to maybe $7, $8, $9, $10 difference on a few different titles here, and I couldn't quite figure out why.
Well, and then that just kills the retailer who really has to mark it up because that's just 7, 8, $10, but to get a same similar percentage, it's going to go up even more.
Yeah.
And I guess it comes down to suggested price, and what the hell does that mean?
Suggested is a big one because they are suggesting that this is what the price tag should be when you put on this. Now, retailers, record stores are bound somewhat by the rules of record store day, saying you're not allowed to sell early, you're not allowed to reserve stuff, you're not allowed to price gouge on these things. But what is that price gouge? What does that mean?
Yeah, yeah, price gouging, exactly. That's kind of broad. Gouging. So suggestion gouging. What is it?
And you'd think, okay, the difference, well, in the Dada, for example, very limited run, we had it for, I think, $53, and you paid a decent chunk more for that.
65. And I
Wow.
was in shock for 2 albums. And it's like, what? Wow. Oh well, I want it. So and they
It's,
know that.
they do. The psychology goes a little bit deeper that we've dug into before about, well, okay, guess I better go ahead and get a hold of that regardless. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Overall, some of the prices were very good on the products. Some of the
Mhm.
prices, like the Dada, you're scratching your head on, but it has to do with demand and supply and the number of those being pressed.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It just kind of it bugs you when people go out, here it is. Well, we're just going to charge a bunch more because people are going to really want this. Maybe that's why I was able to get it like 3 hours later.
That is a that's a definite possibility now that you think about that. But yeah, the idea though that the record stores must abide by these rules. I have heard tell that stores have lost their pledge status in the past for a variety of reasons. Maybe they get caught selling something. In some cases, it's not actually a record store proper. It's a store that sells a few records but tries to cash in. I've heard of places losing their pledge status with RSD over something like that. but I've never really heard of somebody getting nailed on a price gouging side of thing. And is $12 considered price gouging in this, where that
Yeah.
comes to?
Is that
When
well, Jim, I did my pledge to it, but I crossed my finger.
you crossed your fingers as a record buyer, saying I'm gonna try to hold myself to a reasonable amount being bought. You kept your fingers crossed on that.
Yes, exactly.
I'm not going to question. I mean, other stores do what other stores do. We do what we do here, and it is how it is. And hopefully, folks can get a good deal on some of these leftovers come Sunday morning when they're out and
Yeah,
online.
yeah.
So, but overall, I mean, I had one more picture I forgot to show. Wanted to kind of get that out there, and this was our crew. I always want to say thank you. It's just 5 of us here at Radio Wasteland when we put Record Store Day out. See me in there, my wife Kim in the center, and then our friends Abby and Nick and Chuck. They all come in to help out, and we have a good time. And these guys do a great job. I can't imagine trying to do this on a much larger scale. I mean, granted, I'm happy that there's bigger stores out there, but props to them for doing that the harder way. But when you get other folks helping, but it was a good day. I had fun. The idea, though, that I was looking to get a couple things, I didn't get the things that I wanted. In fact, when the last Harvey Danger went out the door, somebody came in and said, "Do you still have a Harvey Danger left?" And the crew said, "Yep, there's one." And I said, "Nope, there's not." But no, there was. I let them take the Harvey Danger. I'll see if I can get another one down the line. And the Camper Van Beethoven. We only got one copy of that Camper Van Beethoven.
Okay. When that Harvey Danger was going out and you were giving to him, were you kind of just tugging a little bit at
like,
it?
no. I was a good little record store guy. We let them get what he wanted. I'll find it down the line. That was one of those ones that maybe 1 or 2 songs. So while I wanted it, did I really need it?
The age-old question, Jim.
The age-old question, indeed. Well, why don't we go ahead and go to your Record Store Day acquisitions, and then I want to come back and look at some of the prices of some of these big ones in the aftermarket, and tell you what the first person in line at our store at least was looking for. But you got I don't have any RSD pickups, but I do have a couple of pickups from earlier in the week to get to. But
Yeah.
So how'd you do, Steve?
There's a pile. That's
Oh
for
my.
sure.
All right. Well,
Well,
you go
here's
ahead.
the
I'll put you on full screen and go take a break.
Yeah, there we go. Well, the problem is I got what I wanted, and then it's the shiny objects.
Oh
Ooh.
no.
Oh, I should have that.
Okay.
Oh, look at that. Oh,
Oh well, I
it's
almost
like,
have to get this if they have some left.
yeah, yeah. So, all right.
What'd you
First,
got?
I'll just show an album. The first is I absolutely didn't need it, but I picked it up. It was Skip James, blues. This is early blues, so guitar, him and a guitar. I didn't need it, but got it.
Cool looking.
So, yep,
All right.
it is. It's very nice. Wire. So this was Wire. This is their early singles from 77 to 80. I like early Wire, and it's on black vinyl. Very good stuff.
Cool.
Very happy. That was released in 2018 as a box set of 45-inch singles.
Cool.
One I had planned on, Isabel Campbell and Mark Langdon. And Isabel Campbell is from Belle and Sebastian, Mark Langdon, Screaming Trees. They do great together, really nice. Yeah, it's like Americana, and it's beautiful. Really good.
Cool.
Big on the list, Dada, price gouge, possibly. Gogs now for medium of $89.
Really? Wow.
And yeah, yep. Cool vinyl, 2 album set, has Disneyland, which is why I know you and I talked about that. And this was a kind of a big, huge want. Got in, a guy I knew had one. I got one, and then their guy bought it, but it lasted over 2.5 hours.
I still have 2 of those left in store too, so go figure. And if they're, if you think that it's the Discogs median is near $90, then you actually saved money if you think of it like that.
Yeah. Hey.
There you go.
uh, I won't show the other side. This is the dwarfs.
Yep, thanks.
It's a picture disc.
Oh my.
It's yeah, a
We know what the
lot of
other side
nudity,
looks like.
a lot of nudity and a lot of blood, and
Yep.
I've seen things happening with a bunny. So, okay,
And a midget.
yeah, and a
I'm sorry,
midget,
a
yes,
dwarf.
doing some, yeah, a dwarf, exactly. Talking Heads Live
Cool.
from '78. This was interesting. It's a 2 album set. I had the original, which was a 1 album. It was a promotional thing that came out way back when. And yeah, for promotional use only. This is a promotional item. Talking Heads Live on tour. So I needed a cover. If this was just a red cover when they put it out to a 2 album set now. This is a little different, but Discogs, this is tied to this.
Okay. It's just the expanded
So
version.
this was a Bad Livers was on my list. Kind of a punk bluegrass. It's really good.
Remember you talking about that. That one was intriguing to me as well.
Yeah. Did you get in? You had one in your store, right?
We did. We did have one in the store, and it got picked up. Somebody knew who they were as well, and he said, "Yeah, I guess that is punk
Hey.
bluegrass. That's a nice looking piece of vinyl too."
Yeah, that was good. Hindu Love Gods, Warren Zevon and REM together, without Michael Stipe. So Warren Zevon supported by the REM musicians.
Yep.
Say.
We do have a couple of those left. I'm thinking long and hard about pulling one of those and putting them into the personal collection. Listen to some of that online, and it's blues. It's odd. It's blues except for Raspberry Beret, and it's weird to hear Zevon singing that.
He does a nice job though.
He does. He does.
Yeah. This is great. I enjoyed my CD when I had it, so that was nice to see that on vinyl. This one, a lot of people were looking for.
Oh, the Eden's Children.
Yeah, the Eden's Children, 3-piece psych band. It's very hard. An original goes for hundreds of dollars. It's a first, so those who didn't get it, it's going to be coming out again. But yeah, it sounded again really good. I've listened to the side one on most of these. U2,
Passengers.
it had the big song Miss Sarajevo, which is one of my favorite U2 songs of all time. I absolutely adore that song. Nice inner sleeve. It's a 2-album set, and it is on black vinyl.
All right.
But has not been reissued in vinyl in the U.S. That we had, and 2 more. Frimpong, K. Frimpong. It's not Zamrock, it's High Life out of Ghana. High Life is more party oriented. Very good. Nice colored vinyl. I have another album from him, and I do enjoy him. So that was a nice pickup. And the final one, this was big. Chrissy Zembic Tumble with the Good Family. And this is a great Zamrock album. And it's on. It even. Black vinyl. Comes with a black vinyl and a book.
Very cool.
Which this book comes in a lot of them. The same book. They just keep putting it in the different records, but it kind of explains it. So okay.
We had a lot of those in store also, and I think your Zamrock influence went because we did have that K. Frimpong and the Ngozi family in store, just one copy of each, and those went. They went as well. But yeah, we had a lot of the stuff that you've shown. The Passengers, we had several copies of that, and that all went too. So
I was watching a couple videos, and they mentioned my channel. They bought the Zamrock. Yeah, they go, well, Steve recommended this, so let's find out. So that was kind of cool.
hopefully they enjoyed it then.
Well, we'll find out if I have a lot of people who unsubscribe to my channel by tomorrow.
What the heck was he talking about? Well, I'm going to break away from the RSD for just a second because my two pickups are non-RSD. Whether or not I'm going to keep the Hindu Love Gods, I'll let you know next week. But what I do prior to Record Store Day is I try to load up on a lot of other cool vintage vinyl, but also get some unofficials in the store. I got a place where I buy some unofficials. And so, of course, I am tempted by unofficial copies, i.e. bootlegs of things that I don't need, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what didn't I need most,
Pink Floyd?
Steve? An unofficial copy of Pink Floyd.
Yeah, of
This
course.
is the title of this one is There Anybody Out There? And this is a triple LP of live Wall, the live of them doing the Wall live. Nifty little trifold. See if I can open this up here. Very cool looking trifold, but it's not a single concert, which is something I find odd. It's a kind of a conglomeration of the Wall performances from their 1980 and 81 tour. So they carry through and they make it complete and they do it sequentially in the order that it's supposed to be, but it's not all the same concert.
Huh.
So you can't quite say, okay, I'm just buying the same concert again, but it's
that's a way to get around it.
It is, darn it. It is on green vinyl, but this is something else I've never seen before. All three of them are on this green colored vinyl, but instead it's a 3 LP set, but 5 sides. But instead of an etching, they do a picture disc, but the picture disc is on side 1 of the first record.
Okay.
And then side 2 is actually the start of the album. I've never seen anything like that before. It sounds good. Comparatively to other bootlegs, it actually sounds kind of neat, but it was that. And then they threw a poster in there just for good measure. And the poster is not too imaginative as the cover of the movie poster cover. So there was that. And then the only other thing I kept out of that batch of boots was another Rush bootleg, and this was SARS stock 2003. It was Rush's performance from SARS stock when they were there. SARS stock, again, it was a fundraiser for the disease, that little mini pandemic that hit Canada in 2002, I think. AC/DC, Rush, a lot of other folks, the Guess Who, and Justin Timberlake were part of the concert. This is just the Rush portion. So, and it's only 2 or 3 songs. No, not 2 or 3. What is it? 6 songs on there, so not too far. And it sounds really awesome as well. So those were my pickups this week. Nothing too RSD related, but we have a couple copies of the Hindu Love Gods left here as well. It's not opened yet, but I'm considering it based on Steve's recommendations of it being Zevon, who I like. I like Zevon stuff in REM. The other one that we've got multiple copies left, and I'm considering opening one for quality control purposes, is the Yes release, Live at the Rainbow in London in 1972. It's a triple LP of Live Yes, not too different, I'm going to assume, from Yes Songs, the album that's been out for years. But Yes Live, they do a really good job live. I've had Yes Songs in my collection. I just don't know how much different this is going to be. I'm going to try to read some more up on this, but if it sticks around for a few more days, I'm probably going to hold on to one of those. We'll see what happens.
Okay, very nice. Wow.
So, what were the big sellers, Steve? What you said Taylor Swift earlier, right?
Yeah, but that's just she had to have sold out at least. Did she sell out?
She did, but here's the cool thing: we ended up with 25 copies of the Taylor Swift 7-inch, and it was Taylor Swift along with Post Malone doing a Fortnight was the song on that. And the last time there was a Taylor Swift 7-inch is when we had 75 people. I think they limited this one, but the Taylor Swift was kind of an undetermined number of things happening. Let me call up my Discogs page here real quick. So yeah, the Taylor Swift one, if you scroll down on it, it says Record Store Day 2025 exclusive, pressing quantity not advertised for this release. And I get it. but I had heard tell, like I said, that it was in the hundreds of thousands, if not multiple hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, yeah.
So we had 25 of these, and it made it through the line. In fact, I was very happy. There was a lot of Swifties in line, but even toward the end of the line, there was one. She came in. She wanted only this release, and she was worried that we weren't going to get there. I said, not to worry. By the time our line was finished in an hour, we still had 5 or 6 left. They ended up selling throughout the day, and then I ended up getting a few calls throughout the day. Do you still have the Taylor Swift? No, sorry, it's gone. But I think that we did good. We got just the right amount of this one.
Yeah.
Just the right. And with that, if the pressing numbers are up there, I would guess that this is going to show back up in the distributors, and it'll show back up in record stores, and maybe some record stores have more than they sold. We'll see what happens.
Sure.
But it's not crazy. It is not a crazy seller on Discogs right now. One day out, there's 50 copies for sale on Discogs. They start at $20. The suggested list price on that was $17, by the way, and it looks like in the overnight hours they've started selling for upwards of $30. So by no means is this a tremendously gouging seller right now.
Yeah.
From Taylor Swift. But the big one yesterday, Steve, and this was interesting. As this worked its way out, the first person in our line, the young lady who decided to camp out from Friday morning, 22 hours was her sit time, by the way. 22 hours from getting in line till we opened our doors at 8 a.m. She wanted one thing and one thing only, and it was the Wicked soundtrack.
Ah.
Turns out that was the big one for Record Store Day 2025. The Wicked sound, now this has existed on vinyl, and I'm trying to remember what's different about this. I think it's a different pressing. It's a different cover. They did it on kind of like a glitter vinyl. But it was so limited that very, very limited, that the Record Store Day organization had to ration this out. So not a lot of stores got what they were looking for.
One I went to, after 2.5 hours, they still had a couple Wicked left in there.
Wow, are you kidding? Wow, ours were gone. Seriously, we had 3 copies. They were gone in about 5 minutes. We had 3 copies, and by the 4th person in line, they were gone. The second person didn't want the Wicked, luckily, but they were gone. Now, here's what I'd heard. There were record stores posting that they had put in, there was a couple that put in for, 50 copies, 100 copies. They got 1 or 2, and that was it. Other stores only got 1 after putting in for many copies, and so much so that they decided to do a raffle. Not to sell it, but just a raffle to give that 1 copy away to someone, to be fair, I guess, as they all around in that. We put in for 12 copies and got 3. And by some accounts, I think we somehow may have ended up with more copies than a lot of bigger stores did. But you mentioned there were some that had some left even, which is odd.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I'll say I read the book, but there wasn't any music in the book.
No book.
I didn't buy it. Yeah.
So here's what this is looking like this morning on Discogs, just about 24 hours after Record Store Day. There are 10 copies of Wicked for sale on Discogs right now. They start at $352.
Wow.
And the top selling one in the overnight hours was for $400. So this is limited green and pink glitter. So it goes through their Record Store Day exclusive. Gatefold with a printed inner sleeve, 12 by 24 fold out poster. Promoted as a limited and numbered. They were numbered. I'll give them that too. Alternate artwork and bonus track. There was only 2,000 of these things pressed. Although some U.S. copies, this is odd. Some numbered copies go up to 2,400 according to Discogs. So if there were only 2,000 copies, how do they go to 2,400 there? Let me see.
Yeah. Well, we suggested 2,000, but yeah, that's a suggestion.
It's like a suggested retail price. So
exactly.
Wicked was the big draw for Record Store Day. This is the one that's fetching, I think, probably the most that we're seeing out there. It was one of the more limited copies. I don't know how we ended up with 3 copies. I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth there, but again, ours lasted 5 minutes and they were gone at the suggested retail price, by the way. So we didn't pump that
Yeah.
up. So it's now, Steve, you're going to run out to a record store and see if they still have a Wicked sitting there, right? And
I can't believe, I looked at that and go, I'm trying to watch the movie, but I don't want to listen to it.
and you know what? Kudos, you're not a flipper either. So you could have flipped that and paid for your other record store day stuff with
Yeah.
it, if you think of it like that.
Because most of mine don't go for a whole lot.
You didn't have to worry too
I'm not very
much.
good at that.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm opposed to flippers. I think people should buy it for the love of it, but each to their own. So,
Hmm.
according to Discogs, and if you go to Discogs on Sunday morning, let me call this page up here, Steve. They have got on the front page of Discogs their latest RSD selections, the 2025 Record Store Day Vinyl Selects. And on that, they list their top sellers overnight or the trending releases after Record Store Day. And Wicked is on there, but they're number 3. The Charlie XCX, along with Billie Eilish, the 7-inch of that, is at the top of their want list of the ones that are now hopefully legitimately for sale on Discogs. And that Charlie XCX, I don't remember exactly. Oh no, 10,000 copies it says here. They're
Yeah.
going between $45 and $60, and this I think was maybe a $20, $15 to $20 price tag item in the store.
Hmm.
So that was a big one. The Record Store Day ambassador this year. Have you listened to any of this? This was the Post Malone album, and he did an album of tribute songs to Nirvana. And
No.
I listened to a few of these online. A live performance was not bad. I think he does a good job with it. There were 17,000 copies of that pressed, and it's going on Discogs as of our recording for about $90 to $125.
17,000 and for that much?
17,000. I think what you're seeing though this morning is the prices for the sales overnight from the flippers. I don't think you're seeing the record
Yeah,
stores. The
exactly.
average, because those prices are going to come down once the record store starts selling their stuff throughout the day
Hmm.
Sunday. But
Yep.
yeah, the overnight, I think those are flipper prices that are showing up on the Post Malone. The other big
Yep.
one, the Wicked, we looked at already. Oasis, I did not get an Oasis, but the Time Flies Oasis was a big one. That's going upwards of $250, 150 to 250. A 4 LP box set from Oasis, and that was another one I think that I'd heard got rationed tremendously by the Record Store Day organization in the stores on that.
Okay.
There was one. Okay, the other big one for us, Steve, was the Gracie Abrams Radio City Music Hall Live. That one we had 10 copies of, and it seemed to sell very well. They all went through there. Stone Temple Pilots was a big seller. We didn't get many copies of that, but that did well. There was one that I wanted to bring up, and I don't have it here in front of me. That was the Wu-Tang Clan. Did you
Hmm.
hear about this release at all?
No.
I guess that they did some sort of AI assisted process, and every single copy of the Wu-Tang Clan, and it was a $73, $74 release in store, every cover was unique. Everyone was a little bit different on the cover, and they were
Oh,
numbered individually. So when you bought that, you bought a unique item that no one else is going to have. I think they
so for
build that as
those
being
that,
the first of their kind. Yep.
so there'll be someone out there that's going to want to buy them all up so he can have each and
Oh
every
no.
one of them.
Let me see if I can find that one real quick.
Wow. So yeah, a Discog, will it go for each one individually because the cover's different?
That I don't know. You know what? I'm going to have to look for that and see.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a next week thing because I'm not seeing where this is going to be.
Uh-huh.
Easily, it's not showing up in the trending Discogs. I'll look for that next week and let you know. But that's an interesting one. I don't see them doing a different entry for each one of those because
No.
I think the music's going to be the same. But yeah, they're just going to have to make a notation because if there's a few thousand different entries of it, it's going to be a little bit too difficult to track.
Mhm. It'll be like looking at, Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon on Discogs.
Yes, with the
Thousands.
thousands of entries. So that's kind of a neat little wrap on Record Store Day 2025. We had a good one here at the store. It sounds like you had a good one of your own. I'm good to hear, Steve.
Yeah.
Well, relatively
Yeah, I did.
speaking. The collector in
Yep.
you likes it. The financially frugal part of you is like, what the hell?
Yeah, at least luckily, I had not been spending much because I knew, even at that record show, I knew this list was so good that it was going to cost me. So I really had backed off on spending a lot lately.
Well, good. So, folks out there, I'm curious, we both are. How did you do on Record Store Day 2025? Please feel free to let us know in the comments. What were some of your favorite picks? What were some of the things that you missed out on and you're now on the hunt legitimately for in the aftermarket? And did any of you go the route of Steve and maybe overextend a little bit?
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not, but at
No, it's
least
good for the economy.
it is, and at least you're happy with what you've got, right? It's an investment.
I am. Yeah,
It
it
is an
is. It
investment.
is an investment. There we go.
Sure. So yeah, hit us up on the comments section. Let us know how you did and what you thought of everything. And for my part, Steve, I've got to get through my Sunday. We're going to try to sell a few more of these extra ones off, and then I think I'm going to nap for a little while.
There you go. Well deserved. Well deserved.
Thank you. All right. Well, you folks have a great week, Steve. You as well. I know things are. We talked about you're really going to kind of kick into your busy time here. So maybe
Yep.
Record Store Day being a week early was a little bit of a blessing for you.
It probably is because right now I'm only listening to one record a day. I just don't have much time right now. So yeah, that's good.
Who needs sleep, Steve?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I do actually. So, all right. You have a great week, sir, and we will talk to you next time on Two Guys Talking About Records, the Vinyl Community Podcast. Until then, my name is Jim. I own a record store.
And I am Steve, an overspent record collector.
Talk to you later, Steve. Thanks.